G'day folks, in this video I'll show you how you can solve this 𝙼𝙬𝙈 Master Mixup version 5. Well, 𝙼𝙬𝙈 put out version 1 to 7 of these puzzles and then released version 0, so I guess technically there's 8 of them. And these stickerless puzzles that I have were from a second run. I'm glad I got them because there are no sticker issues. I'm going to be taking you through how to scramble this puzzle as well as the bandaging on it. So the technique for this one is going to be to reduce it to a 4x4 and then solve it as a 4x4. However, in this video I will not be showing that reduced 4x4 solve, as there are just no surprises from a normal 4x4. If you'd like help with that, please have a look at my video on the 4x4 cube. So this is the Master Mixup version 5, and on this version 5 we have 8 2x2 blocks which are inner edges along a whole axis. What am I talking about? Well, if we look along this axis here, in fact I'll look at it this way: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's the 8 2x2 blocks all along that axis, however you look at it, whether it's that way or whatever. The rest of the pieces are 2x1 and 1x1 blocks. So you can see 2x1 inner edges here, and you can also see 1x1 wings and 1x1 outer edges. And every other piece apart from those 2x2 blocks is a 2x1 or a 1x1. Now, if you sort of forget about the axis with the 2x2 blocks, which in this case would be this axis here, what you get is the other two axes like this. You have a separable middle layer straight away. And for that reason, I'm going to be dealing with the cube with red and orange top and bottom, purely because that's the way that I get a middle layer separable. Now, as usual, there are orbits of pieces, and so the outer edges and wings share the same orbit. And the reason for that is, of course, it's a 30-degree mix-up cube. So if I do something like that, then you can see that that white-green outer edge has gone into the wing position. That little white wing has gone to the other wing position, and the white wing that was there has gone to the outer edge position. So they share the same orbit, and in the same way this inner edge has landed in a center position. Those two little white pieces there are center pieces, but they are now in the inner edge position. So that's the fun of the 30-degree. The overall approach here is that I'm going to first deal with the axis containing the 2x2 blocks. So this axis here, I'm going to try and deal with that one first, and then I'll do a method that combines techniques from version 1 and 4. So in terms of scrambling it, what we want to do is first of all just some 180-degree turns like this, and it's probably not hugely necessary, to be honest, but why not? Now what I want to do is call my red and my orange centers top and bottom for now. And I want to go ahead and start scrambling this middle layer. And then what we're going to do is, once we've got a big edge scrambled, I'll bring down one of these blocks here. I don't want to bring down the edges with 2x2 blocks yet. So the very first thing that I'll do is just try and get the white and the yellows a little bit jumbled. These little tiny 1x1 blocks. There's only 4 whites and 4 yellows. So what I would do is something like this, and I'll just rotate the face initially. Now the question is, can I keep turning? Yes, I can. So there's no need to do anything else than that. Let's turn it back like that. Perhaps we'll give it another twist, see what we get. Really all I'm wanting to do is get some sort of decent separation. Perhaps I'll twist, I don't know. Just trying to work out what makes sense here, whether it is even possible to get a good separation. It's possibly not. I suppose anything's better than nothing. It keeps going to this configuration, doesn't it? I should really do this technically, as I was doing a 4x4 center, and try and get another yellow there or something like that. Now, of course, these will not remain like this, because as I turn them across to there, they will start sitting up and things like that as well. So I'm just more trying to get something happening. Oh, hang on. I think I can do this. Yay! There we go. I'm happy with that for now. So that's the little white yellow centers. Now what I want to do is turn the middle layer 30 degrees and then do some kind of 180 degree turn or more. So if I do that, and then I'll do a 180 here, and perhaps I can do some 180s here, one of that, and then do another turn, and just keep doing this. And clearly I am not interested, it's not necessary to keep the outer edges of the middle layer intact. They may come back to be as they should, but it's not necessary. All I'm trying to do is separate these outer edges, the inner edges and the wings, and in doing so create some fully scrambled big edges. And I sort of explained a couple of minutes ago why I wanted to do that, so I might just see if I can focus on getting a big edge done. This one's really close. Those two whites are not together, they are differently oriented, so they're okay. It's just this little bottom blue wing. If I could get that to be something else, and the way I'll do that is move it across to there. Yep, there we go. If I turn that to there, you can see that, oh, look at that, that little red piece came in. I don't like that. Let's see what I can do with that. This is probably going to muck it up. Goodness me. And it's because I'm trying to do one particular block. Normally what I would do is just scramble to my heart's content and be happy with what I get until I land on a block. But because I'm trying to demonstrate this, well, I've done it now anyway. That big edge is completely scrambled. There's nothing there that is next to where else it should be. And don't worry about this because that is not part of this big edge. So once I've got a scrambled big edge, I've got something up here that I can turn down. Anything that doesn't contain a 2 by 2 block. So I could also look up here and say any of these things could be turned down as well, just to replace it. So that's what I'll do. Just a down, down, up, up. And that ensures that the middle layer remains turnable. And then I'll just turn that off, bring this stuff into the mix and continue on my merry way. And probably the most annoying bit of really any of these scrambles is just getting things aligned so that you can make the turns that you want to do. You can see here, it's pretty obvious where you can see bits that need to be replaced. And that's looking very close to another nice big edge there. So I might even just give that a go, see if we can. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, there's another big edge. So once again, I'd ignore these 2 by 2 block ones. There's nothing there. Come up to the other face here. And I think it was this one. And just replace it with this. So down, down, up, up. And I want to keep doing what I've been doing here until everything in the middle layer is scrambled. And all of these sort of things, the upper layer, which contain 2 by 1 and 1 by 1 pieces, are also scrambled. And now everything in the middle layer and all these pieces up here, they are completely not where they should be. So they're looking good. The one little thing I need to do next is just get these red and orange center pieces into the mix as well. And I'll just ensure that they are oriented horizontally so that when I turn them down to that middle layer, it is still turnable. And then I can turn that off and do what I like. And you'll notice that in the centers, there are nicely scrambled little bits. And I said that the white and yellows would end up with other parts anyway, and that's what's happened. I could do a few more 180s if I so desire. Sometimes you can scramble so much that you end up putting things back where they should be, and don't really want that. Well, once that's done, the last piece of the scrambling puzzle is to deal with these parts here. And all we want to do, there's no point trying to keep a middle layer now, because even if I said, well, I'll try and turn this down to the middle layer so that I can deal with it and use 4 turns, well, I can't separate that middle layer now because they're on it. So what I'm trying to do is simply pull apart the wings and the outer edges from this. So I can do anything like this on any layer that I like, and just using 90-degree turns, turning it along. Of course, there is really no middle layer anymore. And I'll just keep doing this until all of these bits are separate. I mean, there's only 4 of them, so it doesn't take too long. It's just a matter of finding where they are. You can see I'm already struggling to find, there's one. Almost always when you do this, they'll come back to the pieces that you put in their place will be perfectly scrambled. There's no real need to be doing 90-degree turns yet. That's good, that's fine. Yep, they look good. I'm trying to find anything that does not look scrambled, but everything does look scrambled. So just now doing these 90-degree turns to your heart's content and continuing until you're happy with it. All right, and when you're happy enough with your scramble, that means it is time to start the solve. Well, the first step in solving it is going to be to recreate that axis that contained all of the 2x2 inner edges. So there's 4 of these things to do, and they're pretty straightforward, and I'll just demonstrate. Well, the first 2 are really simple. The next 2 only a little bit more not simple. So what we want to do here is look for an outer edge that's anywhere in any layer at the moment. And let's say that's a blue orange. And so that means there'll be a blue inner edge sitting somewhere. We want to bring that blue inner edge down to this position. And we just need to check that it's correctly oriented first. So it needs to be pointing upwards towards where that's going to be. Now, what we can do first is actually store this thing. I suppose this is for when we've got a little bit more restriction, but for now, because we've done literally nothing, and that's why I said these first 2 are pretty straightforward, we can just move that along, put the inner edge on, and then do the same thing with the orange. So the orange will be over here. And if we bring that orange down to the middle layer, which is sort of currently the middle layer, we see that it does need to be rotated anti-clockwise. Now, if I rotate it now, it's going to undo that work that we just did. So before you bring it down, just perhaps turn this off over to there, just so that when we rotate this face, what we did is not touched. I can bring it down into that center position, rotate the face, and then turn it back up and do the same thing that we did before. Bring that across, and we've now attached both inner edges. Now, the sort of thing that we want to do now is to find an orange wing and a blue wing and just to put them up the top, but we need to have them raised. So there's an example of a blue wing in that wing position. It's not raised, so we can easily make it raised. And one way we do that is just to move it 30 degrees. Don't know how easy that is to see, but that is now a raised wing. So once it's in a position like that on the top, all we need to do to attach it is turn the appropriate inner edge to the center and then place it here. So we could move that up, turn that upper face and bring it down. And that one is attached. I'll just put that back there for now and go find an orange wing, which could be anywhere. So at the moment it's here. So I suppose the best thing to do is just to get one that's raised. So if I turn that down to there, that is now a raised wing. I can turn it up to my top face at the moment. And I said it needed to be in this position. It doesn't really, it just needs to be raised somewhere. So it's over here and it's a raised wing. So if I was to now move this orange inner edge to the center position, bring that raised wing there, I can now rotate or turn down this edge like that and give it 4 moves. And when we move that back into the edge position, you can see that has been reduced. And so what I would generally do is just go put that on what I'm now calling the bottom face, just arbitrarily, and go find another one, the blue-red. And as I said, the first 2 are fairly straightforward. So can I find a blue? There's a blue, and you can just have a quick check and go, yep, that looks to be pointing the same way. Because this other one is down here, I can still happily move my edge along. Now this is orienting red at the moment. So what I could do, I can just rotate it around initially and move my edge closer. Put that inner edge on. There we go. Now, you can see that this did, when I did that, because I had it on this edge, it potentially had a chance to disrupt it. So that's why normally I would probably make a point of just trying to keep that on the bottom face, keep anything I've done on the bottom face. Okay, I want to find a red inner edge. Here's one, so I will put it to there. That's a good position to do. And this is probably when I start going, all right, I've got to be a little more thoughtful here about how I'm doing this. So what I would do is bring my outer edge, which is ready to attach to the inner edge, to this position, to the wing position, and then just store it up in my top layer. Store it on that edge in the top layer. Now I go and find the inner edge that I want, put it into the center position so it's pointing either this way or this way. It doesn't matter which way, it's pointing to the left. And so that means that I'm going to now attach this from the left, and I'll do this with 4 turns. And this is just really how I'm doing the third and the fourth one as well. Now you can see here this has a red and a blue wing in opposite things. So one thing that I can do, I could turn that across, and then this red wing is now raised. So I can move that up to the top layer, as I said before. I could then rotate it to here and now go and place that red raised wing. And by doing that, it dislodges this blue wing. Now, at the moment, I wouldn't mind just moving this 30 degrees. This is on this line here. So if I turn it like so, and I can sort of do this because I've only done one at this point. So there's nothing much more to disrupt. That's now raised, and that can be put where it belongs. So when we turn that back to the edge position, that's 2 of these things done. So the next 2, and of course there's only 4, the next 2 are not much more involved than that. Here's a green red one. I've got a green edge here. So what I might do is just separate that from that. It was too close, and I can then move my green edge into this position, put it up to the top, and you can see this one came up to the middle, and that's why I want to return it there. I put the inner edge back, and I can now go and place the outer edge next to it. I want to do the same sort of thing with the red. So again, I would turn the red part right against the center, store it up the top, go find a red in the middle layer, which is there. Now it does need to be oriented. So it's now this way. Okay, I'll place the red on this side. If I'd pointed it that way, I would place the red on this side. That's now done. Again, looking for a green. This is quite bizarre. I've got the same sort of situation as last time. So I think that's probably potentially, I don't reckon there's another green and red wing. I'll just have a quick look. There is a green wing here. So let's pretend that I don't have that. It's in the middle layer. What do I do? Well, I'll just move it along the middle layer until it is raised. That's the position where it's raised. I can then go and put that up to the top. I can also go find a raised red wing, and that one there may be the only one. Yes, that's not a wing because it's a little bit fatter and it's not in the wing position. I can't see another one, so I reckon that's the only one. So for this one, because it's attached here, I would not bother trying to raise it at the moment. I would just put it up there to unattach it from this position. So that red wing at the moment is there. I can now bring it down to this middle layer and then go ahead, move it 30 degrees, and now that becomes raised. So I've got a green raised one up here. I've got the red one here. Where was, here's my other, this is probably the other thing that I should do actually, because I did have that red raised wing. Before I do that, I'll just put this into an edge position and store it up the top. Now I can go back, grab that red wing, make it raised. And because this is the second one, so the green's the first, I can now put it up the top and replace it with this piece here. Because I now need to fill this with the green and the red. So first one, the red is here, so I'll put the red wing on. I'll move it across. Where's the green? That edge there. And that one's done. And you can see that, particularly if you're not sort of explaining it as you go, this is very, very quick. It's a nice little first section. So the last edge is this one, orange-green. It's not in the middle layer, so it doesn't need to be. It is against the center. And the way you can tell that is, well, firstly, it's against this center, but also what I can do is flip this edge as follows. And that is now clearly against the top center, so you can kind of tell it's going to come down to that sort of region. So we'll move the green center there. And again, I could just turn that up, put it on and return. The orange center is the same here. And if I bring that orange center to that center position, or the orange inner edge, I should say, to the center position, I have then got this in exactly the right position. So again, I can just move that up to the top and that gets placed here. Last thing is to find, there's an orange wing and I cannot really tell if it's raised. I think it is. So to test it, to see it a little bit better, I'll just flip it again. And yeah, that does look like it's a raised wing. And what have we got? This one, just need to turn that back down. Where's the third one here? Now the question is, did something just break? Because it looks to me like it may have. I reckon it definitely has. And so what I would do if that does happen is firstly not panic. The second thing is I would go, well, let's get that green center ready because it's obviously got to attach to here. I can sort of turn it upside down if you like. And that's now ready to attach to this direction. So if I turn this edge down onto it, that's fine. This is clearly a piece that I don't want to disturb as well. So let's do that. And I'm just now missing that green wing that I had. There is a green raised wing there. I think I was trying to get that for the fourth one, but I'll certainly use it now because I need to redo it. Okay, so that's better. I'm not exactly sure why that happened. Probably just not paying precise attention to things, but you can see it's pretty quick to get things back to where they were. We are now back to finding that green wing and the orange wing as well. There's a green wing that is a raised wing. So what we can do here is put it into that position and just turn it down with 4 moves. That's now good. We'll locate the orange wing. Okay, it doesn't appear to be in the middle. Ah, here it is up here, and I reckon that's raised as well. And if you're not sure, you can just put it on, and if it does not sit properly, then it wasn't raised. Okay, so that's the fourth of these edges, and we can sort of, probably no huge need to store them on the same face, but that's the end of that first little mini phase, and we've essentially got those 4 edges that create that axis. Well, the next stage of the solve is to orient all the rest of the pieces, and we sort of do this once, and we want to do it so that we can get a turnable middle layer. So for example, here, what I would do, this pair is vertical and I need it to be horizontal. So I would just do something like that and say, right, now that is horizontal. So it's going to eventually be able to split. But you can see that the 2 edges that were here, or the 2 edges that were here, sorry, are now here. So I want to go put them back. So this one I'll put back to here. And by doing that also, you'll see that this one, which was on the bottom, has now landed on the top. That's no big deal. This edge needs to come back to here. So it's an up, up, down, down like that. And what's been achieved is this thing that was vertical is now horizontal. So what we do is just continue turning these around and keep going until they're all done. Now, we will get to the point where we have an entire big edge here, which is correctly oriented. When that happens, what you should do is go look for any others up the top that are clearly not correctly oriented. So this one needs to come down to the middle layer so it can be oriented. So I would turn that down like so. So eventually we want everything in the top and bottom to be like this. That's good. And you can tell because you'll turn it down and it's all horizontal. I will just have a quick look and see if there's any other big edges ready to go. There are not. I don't think, except possibly actually this one here. So I can just create, oh no, that's got the vertical bit. So how about that one? Yep, that's nice. That's ready to go. That's oriented correctly. So again, I would go and grab this one here, move that to the middle layer, and then, okay, this has got to be oriented. So you'll notice that I did an upturn to orient it, and then I did, or an up anti-clockwise, and then I started my 4 moves to replace the edge with an up clockwise. And so there's really a couple of redundant moves there. So what I almost always end up doing is, and let's have a look at this example here. I want to orient this one. I just skip the first 2 up turns, or in fact, it's not an upturn, is it? It's a front turn of the front face. I skip those ones and just do the down, up, up, the last 3 of that one, and then the 4 here. Okay, so that's oriented, and I just want to keep working my way around until everything is correctly oriented. And you'll know when everything's ready because firstly, the middle layer will be completely separable. And secondly, any edges on the top, if you just turn them down like that, you'll see everything there is horizontal as well. Same thing for anything on the other face. And everything there looks good. So all these pieces are now oriented. As I said, we won't need to do that again, but we certainly did need to do it now. The next stage of the solve is a really quick one, and it's to place the red and the orange centers, which are going to form part of that axis. Now, I could have chosen green and blue, and I did make that clear when I was scrambling, the reason for the red and orange. It could be either set. I just need to choose one of them. And I think I chose the red and orange because in one of the other puzzles, it was the red and orange that had the 2x2 blocks. I thought I'll just be consistent. So in terms of those centers, that's not a center because it's sticking up in the center position. If I turn that orange piece across, and I'll just get rid of that red one, you can see that that is in the center position and it is flat. So that's what I'm looking for. There will be another orange piece like that somewhere. It's not in the middle layer. It could be that one there. So I would just initially turn it down to the middle layer. And I do want to do, every time I turn something down now, I need to do the full 4 turns so that I retain that splittability. And that was the other piece. So I'll grab that one and rotate and bring them together. There we go. That's in the center position. Now, once I've made the first one, I'm just going to store it across here in an edge, and I'll just put it up the top somewhere. I'm going to go and make the red center. There's one piece of that. I reckon that one there might be another one. So I'll get that down to this middle layer. And yes, it is. Okay, so bring those 2 together. Now, what I want to do, now that I've got my second one, I'm just going to put it in that position. So this is really simple to get them to top and bottom. It's just a matter of thinking it through. What I'd like to do is get the orange one on the opposite side, on the back, over here. So if this is on the front right position, then I want the other one on the back right position. So I go locate it, It's here. Let's turn that around. And it needs to be down here, and that can be achieved just by a down, down, up, up. Okay, now the reason for that is now when I turn this one into the center, the orange one will also go to the center. Now that that's been done, I can just rotate this slice to the top and it'll put them exactly where I want them. Just before I do that, I check the top and bottom and make sure they are going to be horizontal when I do so. So that will now be horizontal. That's already horizontal. So just turn that slice. We now have the red and the orange centers made, done and dusted, and we still have a turnable middle layer. Well, the next stage of the solve is, and if we don't do this now, we will have a world of pain later on. It is to reduce the little white and yellow center 1x1 blocks. Now we do not need to make full white center and full yellow center. All we need to do is get 2x1 blocks of each color. So I would, firstly, you can see there's a white yellow here and there's a white yellow here. So what I'm doing is putting both of them on top of each other like that. I'm now going to rotate that center. I'll do it in exactly the same way that I did all the others. So everything's still turnable, but now you see when I separate it, I have a 2x1 block of yellow and a 2x1 block of white. That's fantastic. Let's go find the others. There's a white yellow. Okay, the other one must be in one of these. Ah, here it is, up here. So I note that I've got white yellow on the bottom. So if I bring this other one around, what I'd like, and when I say white yellow on the bottom, what I actually mean to say is, yes, it's also yellow white on the bottom, but the white is on the left. That's the bit that's important. So when I bring this down, I would like the white to be on the left as well. Now, if I bring it down like this, you can see the yellow will be on the left. Not a deal breaker because I can twist it around to the other side, but what would be even better is to bring it down so that the white is on the left. And the reason for that, obviously, is that I can bring them together like I did the last lot. You may be thinking, what about the others? Well, it doesn't matter because they are a 2x1 block of white and a 2x1 block of yellow, so they're not going to come apart. Okay, so I can then bring them into the center again and rotate that center. So as you can see, again, it's really quick and simple, and that little mini stage is also done. The next stage is to place the outer edges. So I'm not even trying to get correct pairs into this position. All I'm trying to do is get outer edges into the outer edge position. Now there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 in the middle layer and 1, 2, 3, 4 on the top layer. If I say that these ones that I've already done are on the bottom. So just to make that clear for now, they won't stay there, but, well, they probably won't stay there. You can see that I've already got these 4 that we did earlier. So I've got to do another 8 pairs. What I would generally do is look for any pairs initially like this. And just to be really clear, I might even try and make that not a matched pair because it does not matter in any sense. Okay. So I've got these 2 here. Once I've got one of them, I'll just turn it up to the top layer and bring something else down. Now, initially, the thing that you're looking for is to try and find an outer edge that's sort of on its own. This is not on its own. It's right next to another one. Same with these ones. This is a pair that both of them are not only on their own, but they are exactly where we want them. So we just move the whole thing along. We are trying to create a big edge where only outer edges are in that position. So over here, I have wings. So that's another one done. So put that to the top, bring something else down. Okay, there's one that's on its own. So if I can find another one on its own somewhere, and that may not be possible, it's not instantly possible. Doesn't mean it's not possible, but there is one here that's on its own. So I could, for example, Might give this a go. Do something like that. Now it's on its own, that's on its own. They're in the wrong line though, so I'll just rotate that around and see if I can now bring these together. Now what's happened, and I thought this might happen, when I turned this around, it became next to that one. So there is another thing that I can do, is just to sort of turn that off. Yep, that's nice. And we've created a third pair now. So this time I'll need to put this and replace one of these. Which of course could be my top face. There's no top and bottom, it's just arbitrary, doesn't matter. All right, we keep doing as simply as we can. So in other words, I'm looking for a couple that are on their own. That's got two, there's two there. Now I may not be able to find anything like that. So the next thing I'll just try and do is just match pairs like that. You can see here I do have a couple. Now that's good, but it's not ideal because I don't want these to be in that position. So I'm going to take you through a few techniques for how to deal with particularly the last lot here. And the first technique is if you have two like this, so you have one pair in the outer edge position, one pair in the wing position, what you can do is turn the wing position across to the next big edge. And we're then going to flip this big edge. Obviously when we've flipped it, we'll bring this back and this one will be over here, so it'll come into the middle. So the only thing that you want to watch there is if I had a piece here, when I turned these across, this would go to here, it would come back to here, and it would not be where I want it. But in this case, we're fine. So I turn that across and I say, right, how do I flip this big edge? And this is going to be happening a lot through this solve. So we just take it up to the top, across, and return this slice, and then bring it down with 4 moves. So what that does is keep everything turnable here. And I now can bring that back. Now you'll notice that that is now a good one. This is also in the middle, but it does have that single. That is most definitely not the end of the world. And in fact, it happens all the time. So that's fine. Let's put this up here and bring this one down. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I reckon that's the top and the bottom are all now filled with pairs. They are, so that now means we are restricted to just working in this middle layer. All right, let's see what we've got. A lot of separate stuff. That's pretty normal. So the next technique that I'll look at is something like the following. I would like, let's just think this one through. I would really like to get this off of here if I could. So I'll first see, are there any spare big edges? And there is a nice spare one here. There almost has to be because I've got, you know, on this one, I've got 1, 2, 3. So there is a spare one here. I'm just going to rotate that to fill this spare one here, bring this outer edge across to that position. And I'll just do that with a 30-degree turn of the lower face. I'm then going to flip this big edge to bring the piece over to there. Now I move the lower layer, so I move that back. That now puts that on its own. So that is our first pair in the middle. Now, let's see where we're at. The next thing to look at is if I have a single or an outer edge in the outer edge position and on another big edge I have an outer edge in an outer edge position, that's also great. What that means is, and it doesn't matter what else is around it, I can push one out with the other. So let's say I push the green white out with this orange yellow. In other words, I just want to do that, move it across, and then flip this whole big edge. Now, I moved the down layer, so I'm now going to bring the down layer back like so. And what you'll notice is that one that we'd made is still there. Now, what that has done is give us a pair in the middle and the pair sitting here in the wing position? Well, we dealt with this a bit earlier. So now this is functioning as a spare slot. So I can turn that across and flip this big edge. Now, what it'll do, because I think there was another one here, when we turn it back, it will give us that in the edge position. Now, we've only got this single one left and this single one left. So, first thing that I'll do is I'll just leave this here for the moment because there's one more technique that I haven't had to do yet, but I will have to do now. And it just is when you want two separate edges to be brought together. So I'm going to turn this around to there, and I really want this over here. So there's a couple of ways that I can do that. Yeah, what I might do is just bring it across to this spare. So turn it across and flip the big edge. Okay, so this is now on its own. Now what I'm looking for here is, or did I need to turn that back? Yes, I did. Okay, I've got one here and I would like this other one to be over in the exact same corresponding position on this big edge. Because what I'm going to eventually do is use this one to push this one out. So the question is, how do I get this from here to here? Well, if I just flip this big edge now, it goes up to here. Well, that's no good. What else could I do? I have to think about what happens when I flip edges. In order to get this piece to here, I would have to have it at some point over in that top right position. Well, if it was in the middle position, I could turn it across to that top right position before I flip the edge. So my goal then is to get it to this top middle position first. Okay, well, to do that, what I can do is move this across to the bottom middle position and then flip the edge, the whole big edge. That'll do the job. However, at the moment, you can see this is sitting here. That's not ideal. So I would go and see, is there anything else that can help me here to deal with that? At the moment, I can't really put it on a spare edge. So what I need to do is not have that sitting there for now. So I'm going to flip this entire big edge just to put it over here, just to store it while we put the other one where we need it. Okay, so that is not in that position now. So I can happily go move that across to there and now flip this big edge. Return that lower layer. Good, that's now in that top middle position. I said if I wanted it here, it had to be over here first before I flipped it, so I can now bring it across there. Nothing else is in here. I'll flip the big edge. And return. That is now exactly where I want it. I now just need to flip this back to put this piece in the corresponding position. And hopefully you can see that all of this is just flipping big edges with appropriate turns in between. Okay, so that is about as hard as you're going to get in having to think through how to get these two pieces lined up there. Now, once they're there, you do exactly what I said, which was use this one to push this one out. So we'll turn that bottom slice one turn and then flip the edge that it's on. Return that bottom slice, and almost like magic, these two are now together. Now the very last technique, and we haven't had to look at it yet, is how do you get a single pair in a wing position to the middle position? Very, very easy. You just turn either of them to the middle position and then flip the big edge. Now I turned the top layer. So when I turn the top layer back, guess what happens? It goes exactly where I want it. And of course the other lot are all where they should be. So that was a pretty involved set of things. In other words, it's normally going to be probably a little bit easier than that, but that is what we needed to do to get our outer edges in position. Now the outer edges are done. The next stage is to get the inner edges next to them. And on a version 1 puzzle, for example, we could use, we could have something up here and another piece down here, and then we'd bring it down 90 degrees, that sort of thing. That's tricky now because we've got these orange and red centers sitting there. So we have to use a slightly different technique. What we want to do is find any piece that is in this center position that points upwards towards a correct outer edge piece. And I've got a green here. I'd like to put it in that position. I could flip this big edge. I could also just do that. Oh, I'll put one there, which I don't really want, and then turn that face. And I've now got this outer edge pointing towards that. Sorry, I've got the inner edge pointing towards the green outer edge. Now, what I want to do here is I'm essentially going to turn this slice to the back. So I'm going to do a 180 degree turn. In fact, I'll just do it. Turn the slice to the back, bring the outer edge into position, return the inner edge, and return the outer edge. So some things to note about this. The outer edges come back to where they are all the time. The second thing is, as long as you have the inner edge pointing upwards towards the outer edge, it'll place perfectly. The third thing is that it also affects the corresponding piece on the back face. So this is sort of an upright piece. It'll affect that one as well. So we just need to check that before we do anything to make sure that nothing's going to be damaged. So here's a yellow pointing towards that yellow. It's on the lower layer. So I go and check here. That's not done yet. So it's fine. So I'll do that. Bring that in. Return. Return. It is genuinely as simple as that. A couple of things to know about how to set things up. Here's a piece where I really want this to be rotated 180 degrees so it'll point to the red. So what I can do here is just turn that left face off, rotate this face and bring it back. And then again, that's ready. Go check that. That's not done. So we're good to go. Now you can get confused because it brought another one in here, which is not the one we want. That's okay. And we do that. What are some other techniques? And of course, we must remember there are pieces up here as well. So I'm not going to cut away just yet. What I'm going to do is see if we can make two reduced parts somewhere so we can replace this, just to show you exactly what I mean. Okay, do we have a yellow that we could do on that one? I do have a yellow here. Let's see if it's the correct one. It'll work for this one, but it's not really the correct one for that. So, okay, we'll do it anyway. So that's on the bottom. I'll check the bottom back here. That's not yet done. So we're good to go. Now I've got an orange there, and that is going to be the correct one actually. So here's an orange pointing towards here. I would like that orange to be there. So the technique for this one is to turn that off. And if it's on the upper layer here, when you turn it to the back, it goes to the lower layer. So when I turn this orange across, it doesn't affect that. I can then return it, and it's now pointing to where I want it. That's on the upper left. That is done on the back. So I don't want to disturb that. So I'll just turn this one around and I'm ready to go. Okay, now this is good. I've got a complete one here, this yellow-red. That's ready to remove. Let's get another complete one if we can. Do I have a white? I do have a white. Is that the one that will work? No, it's not going to be. That's a little bit annoying. I'm looking for this one here. It's the only white piece available at the moment. What else do I have? This one could be a yellow. If I can get, I do have a yellow. Again, that's not going to be the correct one. Okay, let's just keep moving and we'll try and get some other stuff done. There's no yellows on the back there. That white is going to go to there, so it cannot be that one. This is a good one, so that can go to the back and then come here. So this is the top one that we're looking at. That's not done. Now, I'm not going to do all of these. I'm just getting to the point where I can show you what to do when you've got a couple of complete ones done. Now, this blue, is that a goer? No, of course not. Ah, here we go. This is going to be good. So I've got a yellow pointing towards this yellow one here. So we'll just check the back. That's fine. And we complete that. When we turn it back, we notice that we've got a full one done here and we've got a full one done here. So we're going to bring them together like that. And we can now put this up the top and bring another one down to the bottom. Good. We just continue doing exactly that, and there are no real other surprises until the end. So I will continue working on this and come back in with the last one or two. And eventually you'll get down to maybe one or two left. And in this case, we've got two left. Now, what you'd hope is that the two that you had left were sort of on the same line. In other words, that red one is pointing towards the red outer edge there. I need to get a piece on the bottom layer where that blue is. But when I look at it, there is no way that that orange gap is ever going to get to there. So these are two separate things that we need to do one at a time. So ignore the orange for now. All we're looking at is how do we get this single red piece into there? Well, we've got nothing to use. So what we need to do is get another red piece, find another color, which is red, and put it into the position that I need it to be in. So here's a red. I can turn that around. So now I've got a red on the lower right, a red on the lower right. Now, I have one inner edge and one slot. I need to create two inner edges and two slots. So what I'm going to do is, instead of turning off this slice first, pretend that I've turned it off and just bring this towards the center as if I've turned it off, then do the turn and return it. Now straight away you'll see, hey, there's a second red inner edge and there's a second thing at the back. So what I want to do then is leave this here, grab that, return it to the back face, and what will happen is it will just need to be rotated around to there. So we'll do what we would normally do, turn that off, rotate the face and bring it back. That is now ready to go into that position just as this one is. So now that we've done that, we can properly turn that slice off, bring it forward, return the slice. Notice that that has gone there and this one has gone there. We turn it back and that red one is done. So this orange one, as I said, needs to be treated on its own. So again, we'll set that up so that's ready to go. It's on the upper this time, so I want an orange piece here. Doesn't really matter where from. And even if there's none in the middle layer, well, that's okay. I'll just use something from the top. So I just have to get it to here. And that one will turn down to the bottom, so that's no good. This one also will turn to the bottom. So let's find one that will work for us. Here we go. This orange will turn to the top there, so I'll put it where I need it. And again, now that that's in position, I don't turn the slice first. Okay, that's done. There's my second orange piece. I'll turn it to the back. Rotate the face. And there's that second one ready to go along with the first one. Alrighty. So that's not too hard. It's just a matter of understanding how this works. And that's the end of the inner edges. They have all been placed next to their outer edges. Well, the next thing that we want to do is to completely reduce each portion of this big edge. So a big edge is made up of two parts, if you like. an upper and a lower. There's a great example. I clearly need 2 blue wings and 2 white wings here in order to have a big edge done. I'm actually not really even trying to get a big edge at the moment. I'm just trying to get a top or a bottom. So to do that, I'm going to place the wings. Now this is the section where there's really the only kind of proper algorithm, if you like. So everything else has been fairly straightforward basic turns. What we're going to do here is focus on these wings moving from the lower left position to the lower right position. And the third piece is on the back face in this upper position here. Now what happens is the raised, or the whatever wing is here, will move across to here and it'll change its orientation. So this yellow raised wing will become a flat yellow wing over here. This white flat wing will go to the back position here and become raised. And this white flat wing keeps its orientation, so it'll just roll into that position. So that's actually a pretty good one to have there for now if I wanted to fill this white base. So perhaps the only question is, could I get a yellow base sitting over here to receive this yellow raised wing? Well, I certainly could. There's something here. Now, a couple of options. I can do what I did before and just turn that across, bring it to the position, and then I just want to make sure that I turn that layer back to put that white flat piece back. So what I've got is that white flat piece will roll here and correctly reduce there. The yellow raised piece will flatten across here and correctly reduce, and this green raised piece will come back to the orange base and it will be flat. So 2 out of 3 ain't bad. I'm almost always aiming for at least 2. So how do we do it? Really simply, we're going to use a corner piece series for cuboids, and that means on a cuboid you can't do 90-degree turns and still do stuff. You've got to do sort of an up and then a right 2, and then an up prime and a left 2. Well, that's exactly what we're going to do, except my up turn is going to be the up slice. So I'll do that up slice, right 2, up anti-clockwise slice, left 2, and then I repeat, because what I'm doing now is the up slice and then bringing back that right turn, up anti-clockwise, and bringing back that left turn. You can see that has successfully gone there, that has successfully gone here. And of course at the back is that green one. So what I would normally do is just look around and go, here's a raised one in this lower left position. Cool, it's white. I'd like to get a white base there if I can. And let's see how easy that might be. Fairly straightforward, just the same sort of turns we were doing for the inner edges. And of course, you can always grab stuff from up here as well. So in fact, I might even do this. I'll just grab this white base. Now, what I would ideally then like, the white base is going to go here. If I could find a yellow flat piece and put it at the back, then I'll get my second one. So first thing is I'll look there. I do have yellow flats, but they're in the wrong position. They need to be here. I would check if there are any on the top. There's one here, and I think that might even work. So I think it will. I'll put it down into the position, and even better, it's a yellow flat piece in a white base. And if I remember, that raised white piece is going to flatten. So that will go to here. So I'm going to have this one place. I'm going to have this one place, and the yellow will place here. I'll get 3 out of 3. Let's do it. There you go. That yellow's done, the white's done, and that one's done again. Well, I was going to say, I don't know what I'm saying. I was trying to say again or as well. Now, with this also, there are pieces here, there are pieces here. What you would try and do is once you've got a completely reduced top or bottom half, and you've got 2 of them, you'd match them together and then put it up the top, replace it with something else. But essentially, that's what we're doing. Now, I'll do one more here and then cut back in near the end. There's a couple of cases near the end. that you just need to be aware of. But until then, it's very, very simple. So looking around this middle layer, I can't, oh, there we go. I'll turn that around. There's a blue piece. So I'm looking for a blue base that can go here. There is one there, which I can put into position. And then I might say, let's see if I can find a green flat piece. Oh, look at that. It's sitting there. So I'll get 2 done. And there we go. I often don't do the last turn because that last turn, this is the one that needs to be the next one that I do. That's done. That white raised one, I say, okay, that's the next one. I go find a white base to put it in. For example, if I wanted to do that, I think, will that go where I want it? Yes, it will. That's yellow raised. So I'm looking for a yellow base and a blue flat piece. That would be ideal. There's a yellow base and a blue flat piece, and even better, it's in exactly the correct position. I'm so excited about this, I'm just going to do another one. Whoa. There we go. I won't do that last turn. All 3 of them are done. So I will continue working through all of them. Remember to bring these down as well. And when we come back, we'll be down to the last few, and I'll take you through a couple of cases there. All right, we've got a few to go, and one common thing that happens sometimes is that you can get an edge with 2 things on it, and one of them is the one that needs to go to the other side. So all you need to do here is just pick one of them. It doesn't even really matter which one, and just try and fill one side of it with another piece. So we need a yellow flat piece to go there. So we go and find a yellow flat piece from anywhere else that will work. And there's one here that I could move up to that position on the back. So I've got that yellow flat piece that will now go and fill there. And what I care about is creating only one issue on this portion. So the next thing is I've got that red. Where does that go? Well, I've got this one here, so I might as well move that down into position to receive it. Now that means the orange is going to go back and break this edge, which we've already done. Well, that's okay. It can't be helped because this is more important. So when you get that into position, just carry out the sequence. And we then have this orange sticking up. As I said, that's done. That one was the one that had the 2 pieces. Now it doesn't. So we're in a better position now to see what we can do. We could, let's have a look. Let's move this to the back. And first thing I would probably do here is just move them together and see if they help. We're going backwards here, so we can always use the mirror sequence if we need to. But we'll see what else we've got, because we may not want to. So I'll stick with the normal sequence and say, well, let's just ignore that for now. And in fact, what I'll do is move that to the back and use that as my other piece, because I've got a choice here. It could be a yellow or a green. I'm going to put it into there for a reason that will hopefully become clear and make sense. I wanted to find the orange base that this belonged in. It's just vanished. Oh, there it is. Okay, so I want to place that orange piece into there initially. And now where's the one that I had here? It's going to have to be, I'll have to bring these up, because the one that I did have there, which was this one, is on the wrong line. Okay, so this is okay. This is ready to come out of there. And I'm going to have a green at the moment come in. Now, I could, if I wanted to, just say, you know what? I want to put a yellow flat in there and keep this one done and then get this one done. And in fact, maybe that's a better thing to do. We'll see if we can make that happen. Yes, we can. No problem. Let's do that. As always, the actual algorithm is not the tricky bit. It's just setting things up for what you need. Okay, now I've got a white raised in a white base. I've got a white raised in a yellow base. Got a yellow raised in a green base. And there should be, here we go, a green raised in a white base. So what I will do initially is say, there's my green raised. I'm going to take care of the green pieces first. So green's going to go to there. That's good. What have I got? The yellow. Yep, that's cool. So what that means is I can put this yellow piece here. And that tells me that this yellow raised piece will go and fill that one there. That's actually a good thing because it should set up for something that I also wanted to show. Okay. What have we got left? A white raised in a white and a white raised in a white. This was absolutely the thing that I wanted to show, so that's nice. This can be quite confusing because you're kind of going, this is weird. Shouldn't they be in different colors? You know, what's going on here? Well, not really, because if you think about this white raised going to there, that's fine. I need to fill this one, I need a white base. But to fill this one, I need a flat white piece. So I'm looking for a flat white piece in a white base. Well, that becomes quite a bit simpler to sort of think about, doesn't it? All you need to do is have a complete reduced white piece there, and that will do exactly what you need. So I will, what have we done here? We got turned something. No, that's fine. Thought there was something blocked there. Okay, now that has done all of them. There is one more scenario that I wouldn't mind showing. Let me set up for that. All right, and it's this sort of thing here where all you've got is two flat pieces. So normally I've been saying, look for a raised piece and start with that. Well, what if you don't have any? Well, you would start with this one here and say, well, the first thing that I'd like to think about is getting a blue flat into there. So I will turn it around and see if that is the correct thing. That is exactly the correct position. So that blue flat is going to go to there. If it wasn't the correct position, like say it landed on the bottom, you would just find a normal blue piece and put it there, a complete blue piece. So that's fine. We've got that sorted. The blue is going to come here. Where's this white going to go? Well, because we're dealing with whites and blues, it kind of doesn't matter. You can either put a white piece here or a blue piece here. And if you put a blue piece here, then you'll have a white raised in a blue, and then you'll have a blue raised in a white. So I might even do that because we haven't had exactly that yet. So that'll be a good one to do. Okay, that's back to where it should be. So let's at least take care of this one first. And now what you'll see is that I've got a blue raised, which is automatically going to go to that blue base. The white raised needs to go to a white base. I don't have one there yet. If I turn this around, I will. There's a white base, and that white flat will come back to here. So it's just a matter of dealing with one of the pieces, the one that's going to take the flat piece, and then sorting out the colors for your final sequence. And we're done. And that is all of the wings dealt with. And you can see now that we have completely reduced halves of the big edge. Now I did say that we don't really need to get them like that yet, because what we want to do is go ahead and solve as a 4x4 now. We are at that stage. Now I said at the beginning that I wasn't going to do that, and I'm not going to do it because there are really no surprises here. It's simply a matter of doing it exactly how you would do a normal 4x4. You would go and make centers. Well, for us, the centers are almost always already done anyway. We've got the greens that we could just join, and all you're doing there is that sort of thing. So we would make centers, put them in the correct position, and we would be matching them up with, say, the red and the orange there. Once they're done, we would be pairing these portions of the big edges. So we're going for example, blue. We're going for that sort of thing where we bring them together, we pair them, we replace it with another one exactly the same as 4x4 edge pairing. And then we go ahead and place the edges, place the corners. You can, of course, get the same sort of things as you would on a 4x4, as in a single flipped edge. You can also get 2 swapped corners at the end. But as I keep saying, no surprises there, so it's fairly straightforward. So you go ahead and do that. And once you've done that, you'll have a completely solved Master Mixup version 5. I hope this video has helped, and as always, thanks for watching.